This is Mark Darrah. If you guys don't know Mark Darrah, he worked for BioWare. Okay, he made Anthem. He worked for Dragon Age, Dreadwolf. Okay, but then left there to go to Anthem. I don't think he finished Veilguard, if I'm not mistaken. But he was a developer for BioWare. Okay, he's got a channel. I like a lot of his stuff because he gives a lot of insights and whatnot. This one I thought was interesting because he's talking about your $70 doesn't buy you cruelty. And I understand what he's saying. I watched the first couple minutes of it. He's talking about because you paid $70 doesn't mean that you get to be an asshole to specific people, right? If you have a problem with your $70 being spent, you have a problem with the company, you have a problem with certain people, but you don't attack the developer, right? Like if you have a Matt Hansen coming out saying stuff that he did about Avowed, you can have a problem with him because he did it himself. But if you have a problem with Avowed, you can't shit on like the graphic designer specifically. You can say like you have a problem with Avowed, right? And I was just like, well, this is interesting. Let me hear the rest of it, what he has to say, and then we'll give my thoughts on it, right? And we'll get your guys' thoughts on it as well. So let's listen to him. All right.
Did you read the title? Did it say something like your $70 doesn't buy you cruelty? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. The fact that you bought a game that you didn't like doesn't give you the right to be cruel or unkind to the people that developed that game. Now,
to be cruel to somebody, I 100% agree with this, right? To be an asshole to a person, I agree that you don't have to be, but I can be mad. I can be mad and upset with the company because you gave me a game that's broke, buggy, unfinished, or is not working correctly, and you asked for $70 for sure, right? Because this goes both ways, right? Because you can't be mad at someone being cruel because you made a game that they're upset about. Just make the game and sell the game. Don't worry about the feedback if you're just a developer, right? You should only worry about it if you're the upper management or if you're the company itself, because those are the people, like you got your check. If you're the developer, you got your check. Sure. Do you feel that if someone shits about the game, they're shitting on you personally? That's a personal thing, right? If they're saying you yourself, if I say Mark is like, your fault, Mark, then that I understand what he's saying, right?
I'm going to be clear about something. I'm not saying that you have to like the thing you bought. I'm not saying even that you aren't allowed to complain about the thing you bought. You can have whatever opinion that you feel like.
Or can we?
Towards a game. Even if that opinion is stupid and wrong. You are...
I like that. You can have your opinion even though it's wrong. Can your opinion be wrong? I mean, it's your opinion. Your opinion is, like, in your opinion, you think it's right. Your opinion thinks my opinion is wrong, which is fine, right? I guess you can have a wrong opinion, sure. But that person that's saying the opinion doesn't think it's wrong.
You are entitled to that opinion. And to some degree, you're entitled to express that opinion to the corporation, to the video game studio.
Nothing has changed over the years. When I didn't like a game in 1984 and bitched about it, the only difference that's changed is that now there's social media, and now people that made the game can see instantaneously verification if the game was good or bad from the people themselves, not the sales. Because back in the day when they sold a game and it was really well, they just knew it was good because it sold well. But they didn't look at the people that bought the game that didn't like the game because they didn't care about those people, because they didn't give a shit because they can't hear those people. But now there's a pushback instantaneously. You sell a game, you're getting the good and you're getting the bad simultaneously, and you have to weed through it easily. If you don't care about the criticism, then don't look at the criticism. Just look at the good. Do what Tim Kaine says, right? Tim Kaine says, tell me what you want. Right? Tell me what you want.
Tim Kaine walks in with a question so bold. Do gamers know what they want? He's told. The crowd says yes, but then starts to fight. Tim shakes his head. Yeah, that sounds about right. Tell me what's good, not what's gone wrong. If you just complain, the list...
That's from a developer. That's not Tim Kaine, by the way. This is Mark Darrah, right? Tim Kaine doesn't want to know what's wrong with the game. He just wants to know what's good with the game, right? And that, I think, is a fundamental problem with game design. We were just talking about Avowed. If I tell you Avowed is a worse game than Skyrim because you can't interact with certain things, I'm telling them what I feel is the wrong with Avowed. They could take that what they will and say, well, that's not what we were going for. Cool. This is what I'm telling you that I don't like about the game.
That created this game that you bought. You paid 70 of your own dollars for this game, and it disappointed you, and you're angry about that. That is fine. You are entitled to be angry about it. And
are you allowed to be upset if you buy a steak at a restaurant and it comes out undercooked? Are you allowed to complain if you spend $70 on a steak? Just a steak. It's just food. Are you allowed to be mad at that specific person, or am I supposed to be mad at the company?
You're entitled to express that anger in certain channels. If you are mad at that Ubisoft game, be mad at Ubisoft.
Which people are. They're mad at Ubisoft, right? They're mad at specifically Matt Hansen for opening his mouth and saying what he said.
Express your anger to Ubisoft or to the studio that made the game. But you cross a line when you start being cruel about it. So why am I saying
cruel about it in general, or cruel about it into a specific person? Like if I tell you, Mark, you suck at your job, which I don't think he does, by the way. Okay. If I do that, I think I've crossed a line because I'm specifically attacking him as him himself. But if I say that the developers of Anthem suck balls, is that being cruel to an individual, or just a broad stroke across the thing saying the people that made Anthem made the game, it was a bad game, they didn't finish the game?
You don't get to be cruel because you spent $70. Let's walk through it. One, you shouldn't be cruel at all. What are you doing?
With that. You shouldn't be cruel at all. I agree with that.
It's a video game. You don't need to go out of your way to cause harm to other people.
Hold on a second. Harm. What's harm? If someone says something like I'm fat, bald, ugly, is that bringing harm to somebody? Harm is, I guess, could be mental. But what happened to sticks and stones can break your bones, but names will never hurt you?
Because of a video game that you don't like. Again, I'm not saying
if it's just a video game, they're just words, right?
You're not allowed to be angry about it. I'm not saying you don't get to express your dissatisfaction with the content of the game that you're not enjoying. But when you climb into someone's personal social media and
now hold on a second. Hold on a second. Personal social media is a public square, is a public space. If you say something in a public space, like if I'm in a room with somebody, if I'm in a room with you guys right now, okay, and I say something about someone in a public space, you're public. You're putting yourself out there, and someone is allowed to come back to you and reply. They're allowed to do that, okay? It's not direct message. Like you said something in direct message and then someone's just, no, it's a public space. You say something, someone's allowed to say something back to you.
And start actively attacking that person. When you celebrate layoffs at a studio because the game that you don't like didn't do that well, you're crossing a line into being cruel. And
well, first of all, someone that celebrates someone losing their job, that's a whole other thing. But the people that didn't buy your game is the reason you're losing your job, right? So feedback is you made a game, you sold a game, the game didn't sell well, so that studio loses their job or they close down because you didn't make a good game. That's the feedback. The feedback is that game was bad, you lose your job. To celebrate that, I mean, that's just the world we live in though, right? Like if I'm shitty at making burgers and I lose my job, somebody in some shape, way, or form is going, oh, thank God he left. I want a good burger and that guy didn't make one.
Fundamentally, you should have more grace for other human beings. But if you're not buying that, let's go on to point two.
Yeah, point two.
You don't know what caused the results that you don't like. Let's go through an example. Let's say that you don't like the line delivery on a piece of dialogue.
Okay.
Is that the fault of the voice actor? It
might be. It's also a problem with the could be the marketing guy, or not the marketing guy, the director, could be the head of the department. It could be 1,000 different things why the voice line is bad. It could be that the person that's the director was inexperienced. It could be the writer that's inexperienced. It could be that the actor is inexperienced. A lot of different things it could be.
Might be, but it could be a lot of other things too. It might be the fault of the person who was directing that voice actor. Maybe they were given very specific instructions.
I have a question though. Why as a customer do I care whose problem it is, right? Do I care if it's the actor, the director, the writer, or do I just care as a whole, I paid $70 and the acting in this is terrible or the gameplay is terrible? You know what I'm saying? And here's the thing. We could spin this back the other direction. How do you know that the person that's giving you criticism, okay, that's being cruel, you don't know what they happened to them in the day. Maybe something happened where they had something bad happen to them and they just wanted to relax in their house and play a game, but then they were preached to. Maybe they just found out that the person they were dating is not who they thought they were, if you know where I'm going, and then the game was preaching to them about that person, right? I mean, we can spin this any way we want. As a customer, I'm just giving you $70. I'm just giving you $70 to be entertained for the game, right? I don't care if the director messed it up or the producer messed it up or the writer messed it up. I just know it's messed up.
To deliver the line in this particular way. Maybe the writer who wrote that line wanted it delivered in this particular way, and the stage direction specified this particular line delivery. Maybe the recording equipment at the voice studio went down, and the only take they managed to get was this first one that was done just to set the tone, and they were just kind of out of time. And
none of that matters to me. None of that matters to me. I don't care if you were out of time. Your management, upper management, executive producers, CEO decided to say, hey, good. Is it good? And they're like, yeah, it's good. Great. Throw it out there. And then we play the game. We pay $70 and we're like, this doesn't seem very good.
Stuck with. So if you go and you start attacking the voice actor for a line delivery you don't like, it might not be them at all. It might be.
But it might be them. It might be them.
Something else. Indeed, it might not be.
You know who doesn't have a problem with bad voice lines? Has anyone ever said, man, Nolan North is just not very good at his job? Has anyone ever said that Troy Baker just didn't do good? No. Troy Baker doesn't phone in a performance. They don't. You know why? Because they're high quality voice actors. So no one says, man, that voice acting sounds terrible.
The line delivery at all. Maybe the problem was the writing. So should you go attack the writer?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it was the writer, the director, the actor, the person that gave the line. It doesn't matter if the PA spilled coffee on the guy's lap and it burned his crotch while he was doing the voice lines. It doesn't matter.
Well, no, because why was the line written in this? Was it written this way because the writer had a specific thing they were trying to say? Maybe it was written this way because there was incredibly tight time pressures due to.
Doesn't matter. Again, doesn't matter.
Other externalities on their time. Maybe.
Hold on a second. Okay. Hold on a second. I got to go back to this right here, and I have to do this.
Stop it. Get some help.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you
We don't care.
Jerry.
We don't care. We don't care. We don't care whose fault it is. We just want the final product to be good.
Maybe the direction of the game changed radically 3 months ago, and they had to rewrite this entire character in just 3 months. And you're just getting the first draft of that writing. Maybe the lead writer wanted this character to be in a specific way, and it constrained what the writer was able to do while they were writing this character.
And if the person was bad at his job, he should have been replaced, or they should have done it again.
Maybe the creative director on the project had specific goals that they had in mind, and they were pushing the writing in a particular way, or
this is why you need to do your best all the time. Just saying.
Restricting how much leeway the writers had in order to express their vision on what the game was able to do or be. Maybe the executive producer, all of these people reporting up into the executive producer, decided that this game should be different in tone and was pushing the game in direction.
And that is your right as the developer of the game. That is their right as the owner of the company or CEO or the manager. If that's what they wanted to do, that's the product you put out. You made a game, you're selling that game, and you put it out there. And let me tell you something. People every day in this channel don't like stuff I say, okay? But I'm making the content and I'm putting the content out there. Is there feedback? 100% there's feedback. I don't like that you do this. I don't like that you use the music. I don't like that you made this joke. I don't like, you know what? I take that feedback and some of it I care about. And others I don't give two shits about because I'm making a product and putting it out there. It's what it is.
In a different way. Or maybe the leadership of this project changed 6 times and the direction changed 6 times and you're getting little bits of writing from each of these different directions, and there was never adequate time to.
That's not my problem. Your time to make the game is not on me, the consumer, to pay you $70 for a game, $80 for a game, $100 for a game, $120 for a game. You guys put that on, right? Right now, you shouldn't be mad at me as a customer. You should be mad at the same people you're telling me to be mad at, which is the upper management, which is the CEOs, which is the suits above you. You can't be mad at me for giving you criticism. You should be mad at the people that told you to put the game out in the state that it is to make me mad.
Step back and rewrite it. Maybe the CEO of the entire company really wanted his nephew to be hired.
Which happens all the time, by the way. In the film industry, happens all the time.
As a script consultant. And this guy with literally zero experience was coming in and pushing for mandatory changes
Not my problem.
to the project. How realistic are all the things I just
Very realistic. And you know what? What reality is, we don't care.
Said, some of them are incredibly realistic. Some of them not so realistic, but I've seen things that look an awful lot like
Being on film sets, I've seen everything that he said right now, I've seen in person with a movie.
all of the things I just said. So when you decided to personally attack that one specific person,
If you're specifically attacking someone, you got to back down, all right? But if you're broad being cruel to the company that's took $70 from you, $120 from you, microtransactions, doesn't fix the game, doesn't put the patches in, right? I don't have a problem anyone being cruel to a company. If the person in the company is taking that to the heart for themselves, well, then they got to drop that themselves, because the person that's attacking the company is not attacking you personally. Now, if there is someone attacking personally, right, then you have stepped over a line.
and on social media, how certain are you
But show the receipts. You know what I mean? Show the receipts.
that it was their fault, that they are responsible for that thing that you don't like? And I'm going to tell you right now, you shouldn't be certain, because you don't know exactly what was going on within the project.
I have a question, Mark. What about if I just lost someone close to me? I'm sad. I haven't dealt with my issues, right? But I'm sad. I start playing your game. I'm looking forward to it, right? It's the only thing I've been looking forward to. My life has just been an absolute travesty for the last 2 months, right? And this one moment, this sequel of a game comes out, and I'm like, you know what? I need to play this. I need to play this game, because this game is gonna get my head in the right mind. I'm going to love this game. This is the game I'm looking forward to the most. It means so much to me. Now I'm cruel because it comes out and it's a piece of shit. It's broke, it's buggy, it's unfinished, okay? And now I'm being cruel because you don't know what's happened to me, right? You're just assuming, right? You're just assuming that I'm just an asshole, but maybe there's some backstory behind it. Maybe they'll make a screenplay about me in the future somewhere. You know what? It's not your problem to care what happened to me. And it's not my problem as a consumer what happened behind the scenes, because that ends at the $70. The $70 is I wanted to play a game, and if the game comes out broke, buggy, and unfinished, I get to vent that the $70 that I gave you is not worth the $70. I'm not assuming anything. I'm not assuming that the writer sucked, right? Or he had a bad day, or the actor couldn't take the lines, or the director didn't know what he was doing. I just know that the final product is not a finished product.
You don't know the exact circumstances that resulted in that thing you didn't like. Even people who were on the project aren't always going to be absolutely certain on who is responsible for something being exactly a particular
Nobody wants to take accountability, by the way. Nobody wants to take accountability.
way. These projects have hundreds of people on. Content moves around between multiple people.
Yeah,
Unless
sure.
I am the person who is actually responsible for something being a certain way, that chain of custody isn't always going to be super obvious to me. And all of this isn't to say that you aren't allowed to have your own opinions, to not like the things you don't like. It's specifically to point out that you being angry at a specific person, you attacking a specific person, is often misdirected. If you feel like
What's the context of what he's saying right now? What's the context that he's saying right now? Is there a specific thing he's talking about? Because unless you know the developer by name, right? Like the dev by name, I don't know how you would attack someone by name unless that person said something or did something on social media. Do you know what I mean?
you're just not getting the satisfaction from yelling at the corporate Twitter channel or yelling at the studio directly. If you feel like you need to focus it down onto an
Is he talking about the sound designer that happens to be on Twitter, and in their profile, they're like, hey, I work for BioWare. And then someone sees that BioWare and the person's in BioWare, and they're like, hey, I think your game sucks. And they're like, all right, cool. I'm in the sound design. It doesn't really matter. And they're like, yeah, but I just want to let you know your game sucks. Like, don't engage with those people. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't engage with those people.
actual human being, I mean, that's really sad. I'm sorry. That's very sad. And hopefully you can grow beyond that. But I will give you a couple of outlets. If you need to complain at a human being, I'm going to say you don't get to go lower than the first person in the credits. You can
Hold on a second. There's situations, okay? Matt Hansen came out and said stuff with Oblivion, okay? There's other people that have said other things, other designers, other developers that worked for other companies that came out with their public Twitter account have attacked people and people get pushed back. If you're defending these people, they made their stance on the public forum. Okay, if you're talking about people that are assholes that are looking for people that work for that specific company and attack those people instead of going to the Twitter company page, then I understand what you're saying. But specifically, who are you talking about? What happened that someone's getting attacked for an individual person?
You can go higher than that, but no lower than that. The
So
first
you can go higher. You can bitch to the director, the CEO, the suits, but you can't go lower than that. You can't go to like the assistant director or the creative director.
person in the credits is the
That's what you're
person who was, theoretically at least, in charge of the project. They are the person where at least some of the responsibility is going to lie. Now, did they have full control over what was going on in the project?
Don't care. Don't care. I don't care if the person had full control or part control or halftime control. Not my problem.
No, because you could still have the CEO of the company forcing them to
That sounds like he knows something, right? He just said, no, the CEO has control over it.
use his stupid nephew as a script consultant.
This sounds really like it's happened to him. Like when he worked for EA, okay? Like the way he just said that, right? The way this example that he just said sounds like this is 100% true that happened.
Company forcing them to use his stupid nephew as a script consultant. But
that had to be real. The CEO
is going to lie. Now, did they have full control over what was going on in the project? No, because you could still have the CEO of the company forcing them.
This sounds really, really specific.
To use his stupid nephew as a script consultant. But at the very least, they were in charge of the project for a somewhat significant percentage of the time.
100% the CEO. I'm just going to say Andrew Wilson's nephew was a script soup and completely trashed. So whatever game he worked on, there's some sort of arrangement there.
So if you are mad about Anthem and we look at the credits, no shit, that's me.
Oh shit, that is you, Mark. So we could be mad at you? Anthem was unfinished, incomplete, no end game, put out before it was supposed to be put out, never fixed. There's still weapons missing for the Colossus in the game. So we can be mad at you, you're saying. That's what he's saying.
But yeah, if you feel like you need to yell at somebody.
Okay, so you can be mad at Mark, but you can't be mad at John. The game director, you can't be mad at him. You can only be mad at Mark because he's the executive producer.
For the way that Anthem is, it's much better to be yelling at someone like me.
Can I be mad at the stupid nephew? He called. Hold on a second. Let me back up a second. Let me back up a second here, okay? He said that we can't be cruel.
No, because you could still have the CEO of the company forcing them to use his stupid nephew as.
He just called the nephew of the CEO stupid, hypothetically. Is that being cruel? Or is that a pass? Can we get past him calling the nephew stupid? Just saying.
Somebody for the way that
that's a specific person you're being mad at. You're being cruel to the CEO's nephew who you called stupid. You don't have the right for that, Mark.
Anthem is, it's much better to be yelling at someone like me who was theoretically in charge of the project, or at least in charge of
theoretically
of the project for some of the development time, than yelling at someone who was working on the combat or the level design or whatever. Because again, you don't know exactly what their reality was.
You're right. We don't know. And again,
Get some help.
We don't care.
Let me tell you something. We don't care. Jerry.
we don't care. We don't care.
When I was an executive producer, I got paid pretty well.
Yep. I'm glad you said it. You got paid really well.
And to some degree, from my perspective, some of that compensation was to act as a lightning rod for this negative discourse. It's one of the reasons why I think it is an executive producer's responsibility to have a social media presence.
It's also mandatory to have a company that has a community manager, and the community manager is supposed to be the lightning rod to take the feedback, good, the bad, the terrible, and bring it to the developers and not show them these shitty ones. It's supposed to be that filter to filter through, okay, And if you don't want to get the bad filter, if you're a person that works for BioWare or for Ubisoft, and in your title it says Ubisoft whatever, then don't put that in your thing, right? Where it says all my tweets are my own type of thing, right? Don't put who you work for. Just have a Twitter account or have a separate Twitter account just for that, just for your account, for your business, right? And then have your separate account that you go to Twitter for your own thing, or Blue Sky, whatever it is.
Because some of you, if you're still watching, will
we're watching. I'm watching.
Play a game and be angry about it and need to yell at a human being. And I think one of the
I am not this person that yells at a human being. I'm a person that yells at the shitty company that tried to pass one out when it was incomplete. That's who I am.
executive producer's responsibilities is to protect his team. And part of protecting his team is providing that lightning rod. If you don't provide that lightning rod, then people who need to vent are going to find places to vent.
I think, Mark, you're projecting in the wrong direction. I do. I think your outlet here to talk about Can't Be Cruel is not towards us, the consumer. It's 100% towards the people that told you that the nephew was going to be a writer on the thing. And you should also be mad at the people that you're telling us to be mad at, okay? Which I don't care. Paid product, right? I don't care if it's the manager, the cook, the waitress. I order food, the food should come out and it should be what I paid for. I don't care if it's a product I buy at the store, right? The guy at the cashier desk that's giving me a television set that I buy at Best Buy didn't make the television set. But you know what? He's going to get the feedback when my TV's broken. I bring it back and they don't want to give me my money back because some reason they're like, well, you're past the 14 days. I'm going to yell at you because this is bullshit. I don't care if you get paid $7 or if you get paid $700,000. Okay. Someone paid for a product. The product doesn't work. You're going to get the feedback.
We live in a social media world. Many people have some form of social media presence. If you, as the most senior person on the project, don't have a social media presence,
you're failing as a product manager. You should 100% be on social media to talk to the community or have a community manager.
Then people are going to go and find someone else, someone who isn't paid as well as you, someone who doesn't necessarily have the tools to protect themselves from the toxicity.
What tools? You mean the block button? The block button on social media? Like, obviously, if a guy's sees you at a restaurant and knows you, and like, hey, Mark, Anthem, that sucked, right? Like, I get that. Social media, you could block. You could literally say, if the guy says, hey, asshole, you're like, block, mute, not follow. Like, what are we talking about here? It's so simple not to read the toxicity.
Leveled at. I would say, again, that you shouldn't be targeting people directly, even the executive producer. But you know what? If you feel the need, the higher up in the organization you go, the more I'm going to say, have at her. As you get beyond
have at her
on the executive producer and you get up into studio leadership and group leadership and the C-suite and the person in charge of the entire corporation, they share responsibility in the game you don't like being the way that it is. So if you feel the need to yell at them, again, probably don't, but they're big boys and girls.
Are they? Are they? Do you know why Andrew Wilson is the CEO of EA? You know why? Do you know why he is the CEO and someone else isn't? Because he doesn't give a shit. I don't think Andrew Wilson is crying at night going, these guys are so terrible. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. You know what he does care about? He cares about money. And that's why he's the CEO of the company of EA. That's why he's taking his nephew, hypothetically, putting him on a game and making him script soup or writer assistant, okay, and put his ideas on paper because he doesn't give a shit.
So they should be able to handle it. Now, the reality is most of those people do not have a social media presence, do not have a way that you can yell at them directly. So a lot of times what I'm telling you is the least senior person you're allowed to yell at is the executive producer.
You don't get to tell anybody who they can yell at or not yell at. That's each person's morals. If you want to yell at somebody and that's the way you want to go about it, sure, you're an asshole, right? But to tell someone they're not allowed to do that, I mean, that's not for you to say.
And a lot of times, the most senior person you're going to be able to yell at is the executive producer. So once again, the executive producer serves as a lightning rod for all this vitriol. If you feel like you're not being listened to when you complain on Metacritic,
do you know what gets people to what really gets people to say? When you make fun of somebody or do something, all of a sudden they pay attention, right? And when you start reacting back to them, it just invokes them to do more. Hence why when trolls come in or people say certain things, you just ignore them. You just ignore them because they'll go away because they get bored real fast and they'll go find someone else to interact with.
Critic, or you complain on the forums of a studio, or you complain into the social media channels of the publisher or the studio, be aware that this stuff is carefully scrutinized, not just by the social media teams.
Do you think that, Mark, that people that are this cruel give a shit about what people think about them? They don't, right? I'm not one of these people that's cruel like that because, again, I don't do specific people. I just talk about the company itself, that they don't give a shit about you. Corporations don't care about people, customers, or the people that work for the company, okay? But you really think the people that are cruel, do you think they give two shits? They make a post, they move on with their life. They'll tear you down, shit you out, and they go on with their day. They live free, rent free in the people's head, okay? Hence why you're making a video of this.
Also by the teams themselves. Arguably, in a lot of cases, to too great of a degree. The team is listening, I would say often, too much.
That's right. You are listening too much. If you see a toxic post, toxic post, you don't like it, mute the person. Move on. Do not give them the time of day. Just move on. Problem solved. It's that simple.
To what you are yelling about and complaining about in these channels. But don't worry, you don't need to go onto their Twitter channel and yell at them directly because they're going to hear.
Well, they're going to do that more now. You ever when someone tells you, "Hey, calm down, bro. Calm down, bro." What is everyone's reaction when someone tells you to calm down? What is that reaction, right? Do you calm down, or do you get more frustrated and irate? Why don't you calm down, bro? The more you interact with that person, right, not to calm down. That's right. When you say calm down to someone, they're like, don't tell me what to fucking do. I'll calm down when I want to calm down, right? When you tell someone stop being an asshole, they're like, don't tell me to stop being an asshole, right? They're going to do what they want to do. Now, there's consequences to things, right? There's consequences to things. In a public space, if you don't calm down, you get punched in the face, right? On social media, you don't get punched in the face. People start reacting back, and that's what they want. Because a lot of these people just want interaction.
You're at any. Be a human being. Have some empathy.
I agree with the empathy stuff, right? I agree with the empathy stuff. But you trying to tell people what to do or not do, it's not going to fly very well.
And stop being cruel. Stop throwing a party because a bunch of people lost their jobs. Because you don't know the circumstances that resulted in the thing that you're mad at.
Again, you don't know the reason that the person's being cruel. Maybe he's just not mad at the game. Maybe he's mad at his life. Maybe he's miserable. Maybe he's lonely. Maybe his wife left him. Maybe his kids hate him. Right? Maybe she went through a divorce. Maybe she got fired from her job. You're assuming that these people are just mad at your game. They could be mad at something else, and your game is just the thing that broke them.
People deserve some grace. People
do deserve some grace. Maybe you should look at the person that's being very cruel towards you or being an asshole. Maybe you should give him some grace. Right? See how it works? It works both ways.
Deserve some empathy from you, and if you can't provide that, then stay off the internet completely.
If you can't give empathy to the person that's being cruel, then maybe you shouldn't react to him. Maybe you shouldn't give him the time of day.
One last time for the cheap seats. You are entitled to your opinion. You are entitled to be angry about a game that you bought. You paid good money, but try to remember that it's just a game.
Try to remember it's just a game, but also try to remember that the person that's being mad at you is just word on social media, which means at the end of the day, absolutely nothing.
Even more importantly, when you are expressing your complaints, stay away from cruelty. Stay away from targeting individual.
Don't push that button. Hey, don't push that red button. Don't push that big red button that will upset me if you push that button. What do? They push that button.
People. Stay away from trying to cause harm. Stay away from celebrating harm done to act.
I'm still trying to figure out what the harm is. Verbal harm? I'm asking, chat, because I know people watch this after the fact in the comment section if they get this far along in our video. Is it verbal harm? The only verbal harm I would see is if someone threatens somebody, right? Like if I'm threatening you, like I'm going to do something bad to you. That's harm, right? But other than that, it's just words, right?
Actual human beings. Express your opinion to the company that made your game. Tell them what you like. Tell them what you don't like. Be specific.
Tell them what do you say?
Tell them what you like. Tell them what you don't like.
Tim Kaine walks in with a question so bold. Do gamers know what they want? He's told. The crowd says yes, but then starts to fight. Tim shakes his head. Yeah, that sounds about right. Tell me what's good, not what's gone wrong. If you just complain, the list gets too long. You say, this
Be
sucks,
specific.
but what do you mean?
See, there's two contradictions here. One developer saying, tell us what you like, not what you don't like. And now you're over here telling us
actual human beings. Express your opinion to the company that made your game. Tell them what you like. Tell them what you don't like.
well, apparently, if I tell you what I don't like, Tim Kaine gets upset. Now, what am I supposed to do here, Mark? Am I supposed to make Tim upset because he wants to know what I like, not what I don't like? You're telling me I should tell you what I like and don't like. I'm being torn here. I don't know who I should be angry at.
Be specific. It will help you get games that are more like what you want. But when you are personally attacking individual devs, you are
I need to see what he's talking about. I need to see receipts of individual. And I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just asking. I would like to see these individual attacks. If someone can point me in that direction so I can look at these attacks of harm from people that are on the internet. Do you know what I mean? Again, if it's anything but death threats, okay, I don't really think that's harm. And if it is death threats, show the receipt.
Crossing a line. And you're probably attacking the wrong person anyway. A special thanks to my members.
Oh, there you go. There is the video. I thought it was interesting. I only watched the first 3 minutes, and I was like, "Oh, we should watch this. We should watch this on our stream." I'm a little torn here. I like the specificness of CEO hypothetically hired his stupid nephew, the stupid nephew. That story is 100% true. I believe it. I believe it. Okay. Now, I would love to interview people like Mark Darrah. I don't think me commenting on this is making fun of putting harm in him in any way, shape, or form, but just taking what he says and just flipping it back towards that. The people that pay their money, they do have a right to give feedback. He even said at the end, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, which I said during Tim Kaine's rant, that we give you feedback, good and bad. You figure it out on your side what's good or what not to put in the game and fix the stuff that you need the problem with. He's saying that you can't be cruel. And if you are going to be cruel, you can only be cruel to the people at executive producer and higher. Okay. And I think a lot of what he's saying here, him being upset, because he's upset at us, right? And when I say us, I'm just saying the customers, not me specifically, right? And I don't think that we, the consumers, are mad at Mark Darrah in specific either. We're just mad at the industry in general when a company comes out with a game, broke, buggy, and unfinished, and asks for a full price game and it doesn't work. We're mad at the company. Okay. He's mad at us for the few that are being cruel. And I think that if you're going to give some leeway to the people because you don't know what went behind the scenes of why the game got bad or why it's glitchy or they didn't have time, then you should also give leeway of why this person is upset because you don't know what happened to them, why they're upset before they played your game. That's all I'm saying, right? But these are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe if you like what we do here. Check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching.